Nitai, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. जय श्री श्री राधा माधवाष्ट सखीस की जय, गौर निताय की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 We are reading from chapter 7, verse 13. त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्
एभिः सर्वमिदं जगत्
एभिः सर्वमिदं जगत्
मोहितं नाभिजानाति
मोहितं नाभिजानाति
मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्।
मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्।
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्
एभिः सर्वमिदं जगत्
एभिः सर्वं इदं जगत्
मोहितं नाभिजानाति
मोहितं नाभिजानाति
मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्।
मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्।
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्
एभिः सर्वम् इदं जगत्
एभिः सर्वमिदं जगत्
मोहितं नाभिजानाति
मोहितं नाभिजानाति
मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्।
मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्।
Please chant Mataji.
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्
एभिः सर्वमिदं जगत्
एभिः सर्वम् इदं जगत्
मोहितं नाभिजानाति
मोहितं नाभिजानाति
मामेभ्यः परमम् अव्ययम्।
मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्. Anyone else would like to chant?
I'll try.
Yes.
Tribhigunamaya bhavaya. I'm sorry.
Tribhiर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्. That's good.
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्
Evi sarvam idam jagat.
एभिः
एभिः
सर्वम्
सर्वमिदं
इदं
जगत्
जगत्
Mohitam na vijanati.
मोहितं
मोहितं
नाभिजानाति
नाभिजानाति
Mam ebia param avayam.
मामेभ्यः
मामेभ्यः
परमव्ययम्.
परमव्ययम्.
Very good.
Yeah,
We'll
very
get there. We'll get there.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else would like to chant?
I'll try one more time.
Okay.
Tribhigunamaya bhavaya.
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर्
Evi sarvam idam jagat.
एभिः
एभिः
सर्वम् इदं
सर्वमिदं
जगत्
जगत्
Mohitam na vijanati.
मोहितं
मोहितं नाभिजानाति
नाभिजानाति
Mam evia param avayam.
मामेभ्यः
मामेभ्यः परम्
परमव्ययम्.
अव्ययम्.
Better.
Thank you.
Synonyms. त्रिभिः
त्रिभिः
त्रि
त्रि
गुणमयैः
गुणमयैः
consisting of the gunas
consisting of the gunas
bhavaihi
bhavaihi
by the states of being
by the states of being
abhihi
abhihi
all these
all these
sarvam
Sarvam.
whole,
whole,
idam,
idam,
this,
this,
jagat,
jagat,
universe,
universe,
mohitam,
mohitam,
deluded,
deluded,
nabhijanati,
nabhijanate,
does not know,
does not know,
mam,
mam,
me,
me,
ebhyaha,
ebhyaha,
above these,
above these,
param,
param,
the supreme,
the supreme,
avyayam,
avyayam,
inexhaustible.
inexhaustible.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. The whole world is enchanted by the three modes of material nature. Those who are bewildered by these three modes cannot understand that transcendental to this material nature is the Supreme Lord Krishna. Every living entity under the influence of material nature has a particular type of body and a particular type of psychological and biological activities accordingly. There are four classes of men functioning in the three material modes of nature. Those who are purely in the mode of goodness are called Brahmanas. Those who are purely in the mode of passion are called Kshatriyas. Those who are in the modes of both passion and ignorance are called Vaishyas. Those who are completely in ignorance are called Shudras. And those who are less than that are animals or animal life. However, these designations are not permanent. I may be either a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or whatever. In any case, this life is temporary. But although life is temporary and we do not know what we are going to be in the next life, by the spell of this illusory energy, we consider ourselves in terms of this bodily conception of life, and we thus think that we are American, Indian, Russian, or Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim, etc. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's behind all these modes. So Lord Krishna says that living entities deluded by these three modes of nature do not understand that behind the material background is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many different kinds of living entities, human beings, demigods, animals, etc. And each and every one of them is under the influence of material nature. And all of them have forgotten the transcendent personality of Godhead. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, and even those who are in the mode of goodness, cannot go beyond the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth. They are bewildered before the Supreme Lord in his personal feature, which possesses all beauty, opulence, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation. When even those who are in goodness cannot understand, what hope is there for those in passion and ignorance? Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature, and those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Do you see my PowerPoint now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Krishna is explaining about 3 modes of material nature in this verse. So what are the 3 modes of material nature, Kwaku, you know?
I believe it's goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Yeah, very good. So these 3 modes, they control the whole world. Everybody is enchanted by these 3 modes of material nature. So we are controlled by different mode at different times. It's not like one person is completely in the mode of goodness. Sometimes it may be possible that one person is completely in the mode of goodness with advancement. But most of the times people have different modes that are controlling at different times. There are different percentages of modes in each person. So in ordinary transactions of this world, we see different kinds of modes, and we see different kinds of modes in the objects of perception. We see different kinds of modes even in the senses of different people. And vital airs are also different based on the mode that is predominant in a person. So all these different things are there, and a person can devote himself to religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, faith, and all these things. They are divided into different modes. So these are all like different combinations in this world are made possible by different combinations of modes and people who behave according to those modes. So people in different modes, they have different kinds of qualities. So a person in the mode of goodness, he has self-control. He's identified by his self-control. Person in mode of goodness generally can control himself. And a person who's passionate, he's identified by his lust. Like he's very passionate to get things. I want this, I want that, and he'll work very hard towards getting that. This is what is promoted mostly. Passion is not a bad word in material world. People use it often to note that this person is good. He has passion for this, he has passion for that. In that sense, they use. It is desirable in the material world, but it's not first class according to Krishna. It's second class. And people who are in ignorance, they are recognized by their anger. People who ever get very angry, it's because of predominance of ignorance in them. So this is the way the qualities are described for different modes. So today we'll talk about how the qualities are in different modes, how they perform prescribed duties, and several things in different modes. The reason for that is we need to understand what kind of work, what kind of eating, what kind of worship, what kind of mood is coming under which mode. And by understanding that, we know where we are at, and then we know how we can pull ourselves out of that and advance. So by understanding this, we'll always try to get to the mode of goodness. So that is the desirable mode that we should strive to be in. And once we come to the stage of goodness, mostly goodness, then it will be easier to transcend the modes. The ultimate goal is to transcend the modes. And for that, we need to pull ourselves up from passion and ignorance and bring ourselves to goodness. And from there, we can transcend. So in order to do that, we need to know what is passion, what is ignorance, and what is goodness. So for that reason, Krishna explains even in Bhagavad Gita, in the last few chapters, and also in Srimad Bhagavatam, when he explains to Uddhava the philosophy, he explains about all these different modes. So this is important information so that we can validate how our day-to-day life is being led. In that way, we can improve. So the next thing that Krishna says is how people perform different prescribed duties. Prescribed duties, do you all know what prescribed duties mean?
Honestly, that is something I've been contemplating about. I think I understand it, but I feel like my understanding is not full. And I've been
What do
asking,
you understand?
well, prescribed duty, to what I've come to understand a little bit, is like your everyday activities, or even just work, or things that maybe, even if you decide to do anything you do, any actions that you take, that's how I've been looking at it, that you do it
Yeah. So yes, your understanding is very much there. But the only addition is even things that you are supposed to do, like a father, like like a son, or like a mother, all those things are called prescribed duties. So a person in the mode of goodness, he performs prescribed duties without any attachment.
Okay.
He performs his prescribed duties to please the Lord. Even if we perform our prescribed duties, we can please the Lord. He has put us in different situations, like a mother, like a wife, like a daughter, like a son, husband, like that. We have different duties. And those things we have to perform for the pleasure of the Lord if we want to be in the mode of goodness. A person in mode of passion, he performs those with a desire for results. He wants to get some material benefit, and he performs in all these activities so that he can get material benefit. Any activity we do, if we are doing to gain something out of it, it's in the mode of passion. If we are doing it to please the Supreme Lord, it's in the mode of goodness. So a person in the mode of ignorance, he does activities to commit violence against us, against others. So we see all these different kinds of people in the world, right? We see people who are just doing the duty for the sake of the duty, for the pleasure of the Lord. We see people who want something out of everything they do. We see people who expect some fruit out of everything they do. And we also see people who do things for no other reason other than to give trouble to others, other than to commit violence to others. That is ignorance. And then another thing that Krishna describes is what kind of results will come by being in these modes, how people are going to experience these modes by acting in those modes. If a person acts in the mode of goodness is very illuminating, very pure, very auspicious, and it's better than passion and ignorance. How he will be like? He will be very happy, he'll be virtuous, and he has knowledge, and he has good qualities. This is how a person in the mode of goodness will be. Example for that, I picked some examples from the scriptures. I felt Narada Muni is like an example for mode of goodness. So he's always going around the different planets, enlightening many people. We see so many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam of people whom Narada Muni enlightened, like Dhruva Maharaj, and even Prahlad Maharaj. He taught him when he was within the womb of his mother Kayadu, and he tried to deliver thousands of sons of Daksha. So first time when Daksha had several thousand sons, the practice was when someone was a brahmachari, they go out and they perform austerities. And then they come back and become a grihastha. Daksha is a prajapati. The duty of prajapati is to populate the universe. So he had these several thousand sons, and he was expecting they also get married and they'll also have a lot of kids. And in that way, the universe will be populated and his duty will be done. But then Narada Muni meets all these sons in the forest when they are performing austerities. And then he convinces them that this material world is not a good place to be in. You don't have to get married and experience this whole material world. You just have to surrender to Krishna and continuously do the tapasya, and until you get liberated, until you go back to Godhead. So they accept Narada Muni's advice, and they just want to remain brahmacharis. So Daksha was a little not happy with this. And then, afterwards he will have again thousands of sons. I think it was 40,000 first and 60,000 later. So then he sends them again, because a brahmachari is supposed to perform austerities. And he sends them again, and Narada Muni tells them, see, your brothers are very intelligent, your older brothers. They accepted that this material life is not meant for just enjoying and, using it for sense gratification. There is a higher purpose for human life, and they accepted it, and they just remain brahmacharis until they go back to Godhead. They'll perform austerities. Why don't you do the same thing? And these other sons also, they accept and they do the same thing. At this time, Daksha gets really upset with Narada Muni. And then he curses Narada Muni that he really can't stay at any place for too long. But Narada Muni didn't get upset. He continues to do his duty, whether he gets the fruit or he doesn't get the fruit. In this case, he didn't get any fruit. He only, got cursed. Eventually, all these other people, the sons of Daksha, they will go back to Godhead. But it's not something that he got it for his own senses. It's only for the welfare of others. His duty as a preacher he has been doing. And the fruits may come or may not come. He'll continue to do that. So that's the mode that displays the mode of goodness. Of course, he's transcendental, but the activity is just an example of how one can do their duty without any expectation of result, just to please the Lord. So that's one example. And mode of passion, what will a person be like when he executes his life in mode of passion? This mode of passion, it causes attachment, it causes separatism, it causes anxiety, because in mode of passion people generally work for the sake of prestige, for the sake of acquiring good fortune, for the sake of acquiring prestige, and because of that they experience anxiety and struggle. So a person in mode of goodness, he's always happy. He doesn't have any anxiety. But a person in mode of passion will have anxiety. Why? Because he's always afraid. He's always concerned about keeping his position. So generally demigods, they are in mode of goodness, but I'm just giving this one example of Indra. Just like I said, not that everyone is in mode of goodness all the time, unless one is really pure. They have this contamination of other modes. So Indra, he's always in this anxiety that anybody does any austerity or anybody does any sacrifices in a huge scale, he feels that they're doing it to get to my position. They're doing it to become Indra. So the example is Prutu Maharaj. Prutu Maharaj, he was doing 99 Ashwamedha, like 100 he wanted to do, 100 Ashwamedha Yajnas. And when he finished 99, Indra got really anxious. He was really concerned that now if Prutu Maharaj finishes doing 100, he will be eligible to become Indra. What will happen to my position? How can I be the one? How can I have that prestige? Indra is a very prestigious position. You know, people in this material world, they want to have this post, that post, but nothing is compared to Indra. He is the head of the demigods, and everyone works under his direction. So he gets anxious, and he comes and steals the horse of Prutu Maharaj's Ashwamedha Yajna. And then Prutu Maharaj's son, he goes chasing and he finds the horse wherever Indra has hidden it. He finds it, brings it back. And then again he comes in different forms. He comes like a fake sannyasi. He comes in different forms to steal the horse. So this is what passion will result in. So it's not even moral what he did to get the horse. The anxiety, the struggle will be so much to keep up that fruit that people will resort to things that are not in the mode of goodness, that don't result in something good for us later. If we do something bad, then we have to suffer the reactions. That's how passion binds. Passion will get you attached to the result and get you into anxiety and struggle that let no one steal my position. I want this position. So this is the way passion works. And then mode of ignorance. Mode of ignorance, when it overtakes passion and goodness, it covers one's consciousness and it makes one foolish and dull. And they also fall into this lamentation and illusion, lot of sleep, some false hopes, and they display violence towards others. So we can understand any violent activity towards others is in the mode of ignorance. The example for that, I thought, was Daksha. Daksha, he has another story with Lord Shiva. So there was this demigod assembly and everyone was sitting. Brahma was the head of it. And then when Daksha walks into that assembly, everyone gets up except Lord Shiva. Even Brahma comes down the throne and welcomes Daksha. Actually, Brahma is the father of Lord Shiva and even Daksha. So he feels really offended that how come Lord Shiva didn't get up? Lord Shiva actually was the husband of Daksha's daughter Sati. But Lord Shiva's position is higher than Lord Brahma. He's just one step below Lord Krishna. If Krishna is like milk, Lord Shiva is like yogurt. He's the same, but in a different form. So everyone respects Lord Shiva in that manner. Although Shiva seemingly came from Brahma, Brahma still respects Shiva because he knows the position of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva didn't have to get up and receive Daksha. Moreover, he was meditating, so he didn't have to do that. But Daksha becomes really angry and he speaks some very harsh words towards Shiva. He says, look at this Shiva, he has no good manners. And look at him, how he looks so bad. He hangs out with all these ghosts and goblins. And my daughter Sati, she's so beautiful. Her eyes are so beautiful like lotus petals. And look at Lord Shiva's eyes, they're like monkey. He has no good qualifications. And I did not want to actually give my daughter to Lord Shiva. And because Brahma asked me to give, I gave. Now he's so like he doesn't have any good manners. He doesn't even know how to receive somebody who's older than him. So he curses Lord Shiva. With great anger, he curses that from today, you will not get any oblations in fire sacrifice. So this is the behavior of mode of ignorance, cursing, insulting, and not, giving, like treating other people violently. So that didn't stop there. And he curses, he leaves. After that, he performs a big sacrifice called Vajapeya Yajna. And then every demigod, everybody was going there to attend the sacrifice. And Sati, who's Daksha's daughter and Lord Shiva's wife, she sees that everybody is going to my father's house. My father is doing something. I also want to go. So Sati goes and tells Lord Shiva that I also want to go to my father's house. So Lord Shiva says one should not go to an uninvited place. You may go if the other person is really favorable to us, but because he doesn't like me and you are connected to me, he's going to insult you if you go. And if you feel insulted by someone very dear, it's worse than death. So please don't go. That's what Lord Shiva says. But Sati becomes really desperate. She keeps looking at Lord Shiva, hoping that he will say, now you can go, it's okay. But he doesn't say it. But she anyway wanted to go. She puts on all the jewelry that her father gave and she wanted to go without even the permission of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is kind. He sees that she's going anyway, so he sends some of his assistants to take her nicely. And then when she goes to her father's house, Daksha doesn't even acknowledge that she came. He didn't even come and ask, how are you doing? So that's another way of insulting others. Sometimes we may say that I didn't do anything. In this case, Daksha may say, I didn't do anything. I was just busy in my own thing. That's why I couldn't talk. There are, many instances that people don't pay attention to this subtle etiquette. Ignoring is not just ignoring. You're hurting the other person by ignoring. So Daksha was so hurting, and Daksha's wife, Sati's mother, and Sati's sisters, they come and talk to her. But Sati did not feel comfortable. And she also sees that in the fire sacrifice, there are no oblations for Lord Shiva. At that time, she really feels very bad. And then her, disappointment for Lord Shiva, neglecting Lord Shiva, for insulting Lord Shiva. Because of that, she burns herself with her own fire generated from her own body. Daksha sees this, but he didn't, his heart didn't melt at all. So that's how it becomes when a person is engaged, is in too much sense gratification, or he's in the mode of ignorance. They can see the violent, the impacts of violence on others. They are okay with that. So this is the example of what mode of ignorance may do to us. So there are more descriptions on what mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance does. So mode of goodness, with that, our consciousness becomes very clear. And our senses will get detached from matter. When that happens, we can become fearless. Fear comes from attachment. When we don't have any attachment, we can become fearless. There is one very nice story on this. I'll try to summarize it. There is this saint called Kuresh, who's a disciple of Ramanujacharya. And one day he wanted to give up everything and go. So he was actually a very wealthy man. And one day he just gave up everything, donated everything to Brahmanas, and then with his wife, he was going in the forest. And then the wife says, when it's dark, she says, I am feeling fearful, I'm afraid. Then he asks, if you're afraid, that means you're attached to something. What did you bring from home? So she shows him this plate in which she used to serve her husband every day. It's a golden plate that she brought. And because of that, she was afraid. If thieves come, they can steal. So he takes it and he just throws it away, far away. And now he asks, are you afraid now? She says, no. So this is how it is. If we are attached to certain things, then we will be afraid. Not that, I transcended all attachments, but that's the theory part that Srimad Bhagavatam says. If we are attached, we will be afraid. And when we are in the mode of goodness, then detachment will come and fearlessness will come. That is the predominance of mode of goodness, the result of predominance of mode of goodness. So with passion, what happens is our intelligence will be distorted. We can't always do the right thing because we are motivated by what is in it for me. If I do this, will it be beneficial for me? Will I get something or will the other person get something? So if we are passionate, our intelligence will be distorted. We can't do what Krishna wants. We'll only do what we want. And because of that, there will be entanglement. We cannot be free. We cannot be fearless. We cannot be detached. This is unhealthy condition. And mind will also be unsteady, perplexed in this situation. And then mode of goodness, if it predominates, a person cannot even concentrate. There is no attention. It's like if you see a drunk person, that's the good example of mode of ignorance. His mind is ruined and he has depression, no attention. All these things will happen. And the next thing Krishna explains in Uddhava Gita is how these kind of people will depart from this world. If a person who's in the mode of goodness, if he passes away, he goes to higher planets. If a person in the mode of passion passes away, he stays in the middle planets, earthly planets, in the world of human beings. And if a person in the mode of ignorance passes away, he goes straight to hell. And people who are beyond all these modes, if they pass away, they go to Krishna. They come to the Goloka Vrindavan. And then Krishna explains the work in different modes. Same thing like we discussed in the prescribed duties. Work is the same thing. Without consideration for fruit, if someone does, it's mode of goodness. If it is performed with a desire to enjoy the results, that's passion. It is impelled by violence and envy, that is mode of ignorance. So, and knowledge in three modes is, in mode of goodness, the knowledge is about the absolute truth, absolute knowledge. In mode of passion, the knowledge is about duality. So goodness, you're only concerned about what is the best, what is absolute, what is dharma. That is the consciousness. In passion, the consciousness is duality. Good for me, not good for me. Beneficial for me, not beneficial for me. Gives me fame, doesn't give me fame. Gives me prestige, doesn't give me prestige. This is the calculation in passion, the duality. And ignorance is based on foolish materialistic knowledge. Like, all the science, if we can say, if it doesn't lead to realization, practically it's foolish. Big Bang and all these other things. It doesn't take us anywhere in terms of consciousness. And then residence, where we live, is also in different modes. Residence in the forest is considered mode of goodness. Residing in towns, cities, it's mode of passion. And residing in gambling houses and things like that, that's mode of ignorance. So it's clear. If you see people in big cities, they're very passionate. The city brings that kind of consciousness to the person. You go to see like some small places, people are not as passionate because the place is like that. So everything that we do will have impact on our consciousness. This is what we need to understand. That's why Krishna keeps telling about these different modes and how we need to understand where we are at and what kind of qualities each mode will have and what kind of food that we need to eat to be in each mode. All these things Krishna explains again and again. Faith is also in different modes. The faith which is directed towards spiritual life, that is mode of goodness. Again, the faith which is rooted in fruitive work. Like even in faith, even in any activity that we do, we have to keep thinking, why am I doing what I'm doing? So that's what keeps us grounded in mode of goodness. If we are not there, we will recognize it and will pray to Krishna that please let me operate on a higher platform like mode of goodness. And then faith in mode of ignorance will lead us to do irreligious activities. But faith in Krishna, faith in devotional service is purely transcendental. And food also is in different modes. Food in goodness is wholesome, pure, fatty, juicy. It's obtained without difficulty in the mode of goodness. And in the mode of passion, food gives a lot of pleasure to the senses. And in the mode of ignorance, it is unclean, it causes distress. Like if people drink and eat meat, that is food in the mode of ignorance. I don't think anybody likes to drink when they first drink. It probably tastes very bad. That's what I heard. But people do it anyway because they think that's what makes them look cool, or that's what one should do to look civilized in this demoniac society. So it causes pain later. They don't feel good the next day and they may vomit and do all those things and not really properly conscious. They may say something that they did not actually want to say. All those repercussions will be there. It causes distress. So that is food in the mode of ignorance, like a spice, like a lot of spices in the food and chilies and all those things are passionate because we are putting all those to satisfy the senses. Goodness is different from these two. It satisfies with something that is pure, not really all these agitating things. There is happiness in different modes. Happiness derived from the self, that is in the mode of goodness. Happiness derived from sense gratification is in the mode of passion. Happiness derived by delusion and degradation is the mode of ignorance. But happiness found in Krishna is transcendental. So all these things, this place and results of activity, knowledge, work, faith, different states of consciousness, these are categorized in 3 different modes. So we have to choose something that is in the mode of goodness. Because Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, only a person in the mode of goodness will be able to transcend the modes finally. What to speak of people in passion and ignorance. If we want to be in passion and ignorance, then transcendence is far away from us. We can't expect that we'll become spiritual from passion and ignorance. The only way to become spiritual is coming to the mode of goodness. Once we come to the mode of goodness, we have to engage ourselves in transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord. And by that, we can even conquer the mode of goodness. We can be freed from all these subtle conditioning and material nature. We can be freed from that. We can transcend all the coverings of this universe and we can go back to Godhead. So this is all I have for today, modes of material nature. Any questions, comments?
Just a comment. I was thinking in the mode of goodness, Ambarish Maharaj also, even though Durvasa Muni, he just accepted it, was in the mode of goodness.
Yes. Yeah. Because he thought he did his duty and he wasn't disturbed by whatever reaction.
Right. Reaction, yeah. That Krishna himself came to save him.
Yes.
And Durvasa Muni had to run to
Yeah.
save
He
himself.
displays anger a lot.
Again, in the mode of passion, perhaps, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking mode of ignorance, there are like Ravanas and Hiranyakashipus and so many other people, right?
Yes. He was so deluded that he could not even recognize, after all his sons were dead and all his famous commanders in chief were dead, he still could not accept that Lord,
Right.
Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Same with Kamsa, like everyone he sent was getting dead, but still he would not recognize,
Yeah, that's the ignorance.
Yeah.
Covers.
And Hiranyakashipu, could not even accept his own son.
Yes.
So look what ignorance does, right?
Yes, it completely covers. We can, anybody who hears the story of Hiranyakashipu, they would think, how come a person can do this to his own son?
Right.
Same thing with Daksha and Sati.
Just same thing, yeah. The Daksha to his daughter is like unthinkable. Anybody would treat their own daughter like that. Yeah.
Yes, that's the power of modes.
I wanted to say something real quick about what you were just saying.
Yes.
So, like the same thing, you're just saying, how can somebody treat their son like that, right? I don't know the exact story and the detail, but I figured somebody didn't treat their son well in the story. That so hot and cold, or just degrees, like anything, any situation, it's just the same thing. It's just different degrees, in our daily lives, right? We see people, like I have an uncle, my mother's brother, kicked his son out at the age of 14, never had a relationship with him till today, It may not have been as bad as the same story you're just referring to. As I said, I don't know the details, but it's a degree of something done out of the mode of ignorance. You know what I mean? It's still, it may not be there, but it's still something bad you do to a 14-year-old. And, just to say that even in our daily lives, these things that we are talking about in these stories, they are happening in different degrees. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And whether it's warm or cold or hot, it's still temperature. Yeah,
yes.
That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, there is more mode of ignorance than anything else at this time. So these things will happen.
I had a question for you though.
Yes.
So I know the worst of them all is the mode of ignorance, I believe, and then comes passion. And I think Lord Krishna also even states that those who die in the mode of ignorance will go to the animal planets, and those who die in the mode of passion will go to the human, will take rebirth in human life, and those who
Mhm.
die in the mode of goodness will transcend to the heavenly planets.
Mhm.
But in the mode of goodness,
Mm.
are there any negatives to it? Because it's one of the three modes of material nature. So I know it's the place you want to be at amongst the three, but
Mhm.
do the scriptures say that even that, are there any, if you abuse it or if you become too much in the mode of goodness, are there any negative consequences to that as well?
Yeah, very good question. Even in the mode of goodness, a person is conditioned by the sense of happiness. Like he wants that happiness that comes by being in the mode of goodness. Whereas a person who transcended all the modes, he doesn't care whether he's in heaven or hell or anywhere else or in the spiritual world. He's happy as long as he's engaged in the service of the Lord. That is the difference between mode of goodness and transcendence. So, in
Okay.
mode of goodness, because we are conditioned by the sense of happiness, we have to take birth again. That's why that's just a
Attachment.
stepping stone to transcend. The ultimate goal is to transcend. But before that, the step before that is to come to the mode of goodness.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
But as long as we are in the material world, even though we maintain mode of goodness, we have to constantly battle not to succumb to these other modes because they are very powerful.
Right, right. And even in the mode of goodness, if you take it too much, too far, you might want to be better than other people and you might get attached. And
Yes.
it all goes back to attachment, being
Mhm.
attached to anything in this
Yeah.
world.
When someone thinks like that, then immediately he's not in the mode of goodness anymore. He'll just come down to the passion platform.
Right.
Yeah. That's why it's hard to maintain that mode while we are constantly being bombarded by these other modes. So our goal should not be just to stay in the mode of goodness, but to transcend.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right. So we should aspire for devotional service, right? I mean, which when you are engaged in devotional service of Krishna,
Mhm.
kind of goodness automatically, is included, right? Is what I'm thinking.
Yes, Mataji, it
You're
is
not
included.
aspiring for the mode of goodness, but in devotional service, automatically, goodness is included.
Yes, it's included in transcendence. If you transcend it, that means you're already like in the mode of goodness. But
Goodness, right?
we need to be careful also, even while performing devotional service. If we do it for fruit, then it's not 100% devotional service.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's
Without
just
expectation, yeah.
without expectation. If we perform just for the pleasure of Krishna, then all our passion and ignorance will be destroyed
Hmm.
by
Right.
And I was thinking when you said first when we drink, it doesn't taste very good.
Yes, it doesn't.
When I
Anything in. Mhm,
first came to this country, my husband wanted me to drink some beer, and
mhm.
I didn't drink it, but I just smelled it, and it smelled like urine to me. And I said, why would anybody want to drink this?
Yeah, very bad.
And I didn't even want to drink it. So
Mm, yeah,
thankfully, I had no interest in drinking it, or you know.
yeah. Krishna also caught me early on in college, so I didn't have to go through it either. But
Yeah,
people who do go through it, they tell the first experience as being miserable.
right, right.
Yeah, it's nice, nice examples, Mataji. We missed you when you were gone.
But I did do other things in college that I had to give up, like and I did, try out, meat, fish, and not red meats, but chicken and fish and things like that. And I grew up actually in like a family that did eat fish, like the Bengali Brahmins,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I gave it up in my very early 20s after I met the Hare Krishna. So,
Yeah, I didn't grow up in a vegetarian family either.
mhm. So, in fact, my friends at work used to make fun of me, like we did alcohol and drugs in college. Gita did
Oh my
chicken.
gosh. At that time, they did alcohol and drugs in college?
No, not my Indian friends. I'm talking about my
Others.
American work people.
Oh,
My
okay.
American work people would make fun of
Okay.
me, say we did alcohol and drugs in college and Gita did chicken. That was my rebellion in
Yeah.
college.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji, may I ask a question too?
Yes.
Maybe it's not really fit to today's class,
That's fine.
but
Yes.
I came to Krishna consciousness very late, and as going deeper, I understand that I do have anxiety that I don't get chance to cleanse my heart
Yeah.
in this life.
worry.
So
I mean,
I just always think about that. So I want to do as much as I could, but it's just the fear in me that I won't get chance to cleanse my heart in this life.
why do you think you won't get a chance to cleanse your heart?
I think I heard one spiritual teacher said that it takes like 40 years, of devotional service, and I'm in my 40s, so I don't know if I have another 40 years.
Yeah, I
Oh
have
my
a good
God,
news
that's
for
not
you.
true. Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
have a
Maharaj,
good news.
tell her about Maharaj Katwanga.
Yeah, I have a good news for you that it doesn't take that long if you're so sincere, like Gita Mala Mataji is saying. Some people even achieve perfection in a moment. And another good news is whatever you do in your life, in this life, is not lost. When you have to leave this body and take another body, you don't have to start from point zero. Whatever advancement you made in this life, it will go with you to the next life also. So there is no loss in your endeavors to cleanse yourself. There is no loss. So don't worry. Whatever you can do, you do it.
Srila Prabhupada, our, spiritual master, who brought Krishna consciousness to the West, when he was asked, I think in Australia or somewhere, how long does it take to be Krishna conscious? One of the answers he gave was a moment, It only takes a moment. If you're extremely sincere, it only takes a moment to surrender to Krishna, I mean, of course, you have to follow through that moment. Once you feel that sense of surrender, you have to follow through. I mean, even if you start now, it makes a huge difference. And that even if you start now, at the end of your life, you will have surrendered to Krishna. So it's this Krishna consciousness is so wonderful, no matter when you start. And whoever is speaking, I might have been in this movement for 40 or 45 years, but doesn't mean that I'm ready to go back to Krishna either. Those of us who have been practicing for a very long time can tell that surrender doesn't necessarily come in terms of time. It comes in terms of your attitude.
Yes. That's a very nice sentence, Mataji, the last one. The attitude of the follower is what determines how much advancement you make.
So Mataji, is there anything enhancing? And it's I know Japa and Srimad Bhagavatam reading and everything. Is anything else that I could do?
You can
to-
come and do some service in the temple.
right.
Yeah. Where do you live? I haven't met you before.
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit as much I could get the service, coming in, doing a little bit cleaning and helping washing the dishes after the program. As
Mhm.
much as I given I wanna, serve in the temple.
Mhm.
So I'm
So
very happy to
you
be
live
there.
in Connecticut?
Which town do you live in?
Yes. Mataji, my name is Olivia. You know me. I come to the temple every Sunday now.
Oh,
Olivia.
which town do you live, Olivia?
New Britain.
Oh,
New Britain.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to-
Nice.
So thank you so much. I appreciate Mataji. Thank you.
No
My
problem.
humble
How long have you known Krishna consciousness?
Well, 2 years ago, I went to Vrindavan with the group and, kind of opened to me. I've been vegetarian for 10 years.
Mhm.
So it took 10 years, I guess, to cleanse it out. And then Krishna was very merciful and showed me the other side of I was raised Catholic and I knew there was something missing. So I was kind of searching more and more. And finally, I just decided to go to India and see what's there, because inside of my heart, I always said there has to be something there, that people always come from India and, they see the bliss and they better and it's changing their life. And then I met a guru who took all to the same places. We went to Tirupati to see Balaji, I think, if I'm right.
Tirupati.
Mhm.
Okay.
Tirupati. Then we went to Varanasi, and then we went to Vrindavan. So all these same places we visit in, and it's kind of open to me after the trip.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing wonderful, Olivia. That's so wonderful.
Thank you, Mataji. I always think I'm not doing enough, so I get the fear that I'm not.
That's
doing
actually
enough.
a great attitude. We should always think we're not doing enough for Krishna and aspire to do more. So you already have that great attitude.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you for the answer. I'll let somebody else to give you a question, because I see the hand. So thank you so much. I appreciate my humble obeisances.
Mine too.
Oh, I just wanted a little contribution. There's a story that I've heard in somewhere in the Vedas. My dad keeps repeating it. He likes it. There's a guy, there's a a monk who's in a forest somewhere. I don't know if you may have heard it and probably be able to tell it better. But there's this guy who's sitting up on a tree, and this monk is in in the woods in his ashram and everything. He keeps passing every day. He's passing. This guy is sitting in the trees. He's always making fun of everybody that passes, throwing fruits at them, and playing pranks on people. Every day playing pranks on this monk. And then one day he decides that he's gonna get down and speak with the monk, and he asks hey, Mr. Monk, I'm just using the word. Mr. Monk, how many lifetimes have I got to become a realized soul? And he says, well, you see that tree over there? You see how many leaves, all the green leaves? So many. Yes, it's like you have that many lifetimes to be before you become realized. And the guy said, well, that's good. Then I can play all the pranks I want because I have so many leaves to keep going until I get realized. And then the monk looks at him and he tells him, well, actually, that was just a joke. I wanted to see your reaction. Today is the day. If you don't change today, that's your last lifetime. If you don't change today and follow me to go get your life together, that's it for you. And then the moment he said it, it was like, something dawned on this guy immediately. It was more realization. he followed the master to the ashram, stayed there with him. Finally, when the master died, he was the one that took over the ashram and became a realized soul and all that. So it's a
Mm.
moment for the master to show up, and the worst person in the village became the one that took over.
Mhm.
So I just
Yeah.
want to say that it's never late for anybody.
Yes. Yeah, it's never late.
Valmiki, yeah, remember Valmiki? And isn't there another
Mhm.
in Chaitanya Charitamrita? Who was that person who wouldn't even walk on ants afterwards? Who was that? Sundari
Mrigari.
Radhika?
Mrigari.
Mrigari, yeah, Mrigari, thank you.
Mhm.
So you should tell Olivia the stories of Mrigari and Valmiki. She'll feel much better.
Yes, yes. She has been a vegetarian, so that's great for the last 13 years. So don't worry, Olivia.
Yeah.
You're doing good.
Mrigari and Valmiki were like such, uh, sinful people who just turned around in
Mhm.
just by the association of some pure souls.
Yes. You are like one among thousands, so feel happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's, I think,
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
yes.
Mataji, just one thing I just wanted to share about Olivia Mataji. She has been doing lot of service. I mean,
Mhm.
some of you may not know about her.
Mhm.
In temple cleaning, right? After the utensils, she come and clean all the vessels. She come
Mhm.
and clean the stores also.
Wow.
On grand opening day, I would
Mhm.
just like to share incident what happened. So
Mm.
the kitchen was really messy and lot of things were there to clean. So
Mm.
Olivia Mataji just came right at 6 o'clock and she started cleaning the walls.
Oh my gosh.
And devotees from the New York, they were kind of surprised how Mataji is cleaning that walls. So
Mhm.
they took a notice of this thing, how they are cleaning that kitchen. So one thing that they carried with themselves, right, means how our cleaning team does the cleaning in the kitchen and other areas. So definitely
Mhm.
that they carried that incident from here.
Wow.
So Mataji may not know about this, but other devotees know, and how Olivia Mataji kind of was doing the service, right, that really struck them.
Yes. Yeah, see, your sincerity is affecting other people. So just continue to be sincere like that, and Krishna will take you back to Godhead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I appreciate. Like I said, I don't feel I'm doing enough. Really, I would love to be there every single day and wash the dishes or wash the floor. Anything. It just gives me such a pleasure. I just don't want to leave the temple. Sometimes I feel like that.
Yeah.
And Mataji is also coming on weekdays, even in the temple, in the evening for Aarti.
Wow. Very nice. Yeah, I think in on weekdays we might need some help, right? So if you go, if someone needs, you can do.
Thank you, Mataji. I probably attend tomorrow. I have a day off, so I'll probably be there and help devotees to clean.
Okay. Yeah.
And Thursday probably too. So I'll do as much as I could, as much as you give me. I could do. I'm so happy that I got the service because I was praying, the COVID start and
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't come to the temple. So God bless, Krishna bless Mataji Jiva. She helped me to just stay in, stay through the hard times. Because if you don't come to the temple, it's very hard.
Yeah.
Especially,
That's true.
when your husband are in the Krishna consciousness. And
Mm-hmm.
so but now I'm so happy that I got the service. I feel so blessed. My tears coming from my eyes. I'm not worthy to get the service, but I'm happy. I'm so happy.
That's
You're an
good.
inspiration as to us, Olivia, and a few of us are in the same boat. Not all husbands are into Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Mataji. You all from India, so you are very humble. I need to learn all the humbleness and
I don't think so.
all
You're showing so much humility. We are finding you an inspiration. So thank you.
all devotees very, very nice to me, and I appreciate every advice and anything they give it to me. So I'm very grateful for that.
Very nice. Nice to hear, Mataji. I hope to meet you when I come next time.
Thank you,
So,
Mataji.
yeah, we'll stop here. It's 8:12. Thank you all very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha.
Upakaradhyascha kripa sindhyaeva jaya patitanam pavanebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavvrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sundari Radhika Mataji ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, everyone.